Okay, so you've seen the title of the video and you're thinking, he's gone. PhD's finally got to him, he's cracked. But this is an absolutely true story that I've never really told anybody before. Now, in order for you to understand it, I first need to give you some backstory. When I was growing up, we had two cats, Henry and Snowy, and I loved them to absolute bits. And because I loved them so much, I got into something of a nighttime routine, which I did every night from the age of about 6 or 7 to the age of 18. Every night, before I could go to sleep, I would do several things. Firstly, I would kiss my teddy goodnight, obviously. Then I'd go and find Henry and kiss him goodnight, and I'd tell him about my day. So, what I'd done in school, anything fun I'd done with my friends. It was almost like writing in a diary. And if he wasn't sleeping in my room, which he often did, then I would go out into the house in my pants and find him. Incidentally, finding a jet black cat in a completely dark house is not easy. Then, after I'd done that with Henry, I would do exactly the same thing for Snowy, but I would tell him about what I was doing the following day. So, any homework that I had due in, any tests that were coming up, basically my kind of schedule for the whole day. I'm not crazy. Now, this was all fine and dandy when we all lived in the same house, but when I was about 10, we moved a couple of miles down the road, and only Henry came with us. Basically, Snowy kind of adopted the next door neighbours because they had a really nice garden and he'd spend pretty much all of his time sunbathing in their garden. So when we moved, the decision was kind of made that they would adopt him and only one cat would come with us. Naturally, this threw something of a spanner in the works of my nighttime schedule. As before, I would kiss Teddy goodnight and I'd kiss Henry goodnight, tell him about my day. But with Snowy, I took what I thought was the only logical option. I found the window in the new house which approximately pointed towards the direction of our old house, and I would talk to the window as if it was Snowy. Again, most of the time just in my pants. I'm not crazy. Now, this perfectly rational and sane behaviour continued up until I was 18 and I was doing my A-levels. And it was at this point that my parents just by chance bumped into our old neighbours. And they unfortunately told us that Snowy had died a couple of months before, just of old age. So for the 6 months or so leading up to that chance meeting, I had been talking to a window pretending it was my cat, whereas actually I've been talking to a window pretending it was a cat which was... it'd been dead for 6 months. That was an awkward final time saying goodnight. Like saying, so it turns out you're dead. However, I genuinely really believe that this process of talking to my two cats, one of whom just happened to be dead for some of the time, was a really big part of my academic success at school and getting into Oxford. And it stems from the fact that I think learning is a 3-step process. Step 1, preconditioning yourself to learn. So this is the environment that you are going to be working in, your attitude towards the work, what you've eaten, any preparation that you've put into working in that session. Step 2, actually learning new material. And then step 3, processing that material. So categorizing it and filing the new information that you have away in your brain such that you know where it sits in relation to everything else that you know. Now, each of those steps are very important in their own right. You have to be in the right frame of mind to work, you have to pay attention and concentrate when you're actually taking in new information, and you do need to be able to categorize what you've learned. You need to be able to access it again and know where it fits in relation to all the other knowledge you have in your life. However, there's a 4th step, which is arguably the most important of all, and it means that learning actually works in a cycle. 1, you precondition yourself to learn. 2, you absorb new information. 3, you process that information. And then 4, you evaluate your learning experience. And that evaluation then feeds back into how you precondition yourself to learn in future. By evaluating, what I mean is reviewing the information that you've just learned. So going over the bits that you understand and maybe the bits that you don't understand quite so well, almost teach the information again to yourself. And then use the information that you've kind of gleaned from that introspection to inform how you learn in the future. So identifying processes that you learn very quickly, so you know that you don't need to allocate too much time to learning new processes like those, but also recognizing processes that you took a while to learn and then saying, well, I need to allocate more time to those in the future. What I was doing by talking to my cats was exactly this. I was reviewing the information that I'd learned in that day and explaining it to Henry, and then taking that review of the information and using it to inform my plans for the next day. So when I talk to Snowy about what I kind of schedule for the next day, saying to myself, well, actually this bit didn't go quite so well, I think tomorrow maybe I should look over that again. Now, I'm not necessarily suggesting that you talk to cats, though if you have cats, do, they're really good listeners. But that you should consider daily review and evaluation of the work that you've done in that day at school or at uni. And that doesn't have to be cats. It could be writing in a diary or just setting 5 to 10 minutes aside before you go to bed to think about what you've done that day. When I was in Oxford, I actually kept a revision diary, which allowed me to write down what I'd done in that day. And then it actually allowed me to track ahead. So I knew that a week or a month in the future, I'd review the material that I'd done on that given day, which is an excellent revision tip, by the way. But it also, at the end of every day, allowed me to review what I'd done and then use that review to inform what I was going to do the next day. This is just something that I personally benefited from a lot, particularly when I was in school, and I thought that maybe you guys would too. If you did like this topic and this style of video, then I highly recommend you check out Tom Frank's channel, College Info Geek, which is full of so many videos about study tips and improving your productivity, and he's a lot better at this than I am. If you did like this video, which I appreciate is a little bit different for this channel, then do give it a thumbs up so I know that you guys like this kind of content. And also comment down there if you have revision tips that you've personally found particularly useful and successful, then do leave them down there. And I would love it nothing more than if we could learn from each other as a community of people who are engaged and passionate about learning. So if you have tips, put them down there. Thanks very much for watching, and I will see you next time.